Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours, with 10% off using code FD10. Follow the links in the description below. Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and today I'm at the wheel of possibly the best used car buy. Specifically, if you're looking for a first car for a teenage driver, this might be the one for you. This is a 2011 Fiat 500. Oh, and by the way, if you like reviews of new cars, old cars, retro cars, interesting weird cars, please hit like and indeed subscribe. Now on with the video. Now the 500 has been around since 2007, and incredibly, and I mentioned this in the previous Fiat 500 video when I drove a very, very high spec one, it was actually designed by a guy called Frank Stevenson, who is one of the automotive design greats, who also designed the R50 Mini, the original new Mini. So that was quite an incredible accomplishment, that he had the two biggest selling small cars in the world, basically, on sale side by side as rivals at the same time, which is quite a remarkable feat, really, isn't it? He's also the guy who brought us the Ferrari 360 and really kind of, well, evolved the lifestyle SUV segment in Europe to what we have today with the first BMW X5, which he designed in a week. So yeah, bit of a design great, and this is a lot of design goodness going on. So why am I telling you that this is the best used car out there and you should buy this for your 17-year-old? I know from the comments and also from the statistics in the back end of YouTube, an awful lot of you guys watching this are of an age when you have got 17, 18-year-old kids who are looking for a first car. And things are different from when I was a 17-year-old. It's no longer find a £300 or £400 car and learn to fix it yourself. They want a bit more these days. They want working aircon, they want airbags, they want all the good stuff that we never had. And that costs money. Well, except if you've got one of those best-selling cars of the last decade and a half, it doesn't have to cost too much. This little Fiat 500 just sold for £1,500. It's only got 89,000 miles on it, and a full service history, new timing belt, new clutch, recent tyres, everything you want really in a second-hand car. But the thing about the 500 is you get an awful lot of style bang for your buck. There are so many nods to the original 500 from the 50s. It is just brilliant. This body colour dashboard area, which looks like the painted metal dash from the original, it's actually plastic now, which is an awful lot safer. We've got this retro style radio here in the centre. It's a matte finished plastic, as are these air vents. So they too look kind of retro and old school. The car we're driving today is a 1.2 Lounge, which is probably one of the most popular option specs you can find of these cars. If you type in 1.2, if you type in 500 1.2 Lounge, just going to automatically self-fills in Google. It's that popular. Under the bonnet is a 1.2 litre 8-valve engine, and the platform and indeed the engine is the same as what you'll find underneath the Ford Ka from the same generation. In fact, the new Ford was actually promoed in the Bond film of that year. Was it Skyfall? As they had done with the Mondeo back in Casino Royale. Anyway, so this car is basically the Ford Ka. Or the Ford Ka is basically this car. Either way, it's a good platform. The differences are, though, the Ford is a tad bit more practical. They've not gone with the retro styling cues, so you've got a more modern, more practical dashboard. You've got a slightly bigger boot because they've taken out the spare wheel. And Ford's, well, basically legendary handling department have breathed on the suspension, so you get a little bit less bounce in the ride and a little bit more control in general. But let's pull over and have a look around the exterior and the interior of this thing. So, styling wise, it is a fantastic nod to the 50s original. Don't want to call it a pastiche, but there is so much visual reference material that goes back to that old car. The radiator grille is down here, but we've got this little moustache in chrome and badge which gives the car its face, and even in the headlights we've also got like a little eyelash thing going on as well. You can see why these cars are so cute. It's like the original Mini, it's got a face that smiles at you. You can see why people love them. And also, like the original, the wheels are pushed out to the corners, giving lots of internal space and lots of fun handling as well. Very short bonnet, very short overhangs, lots of glass area, and just enough detail to make it interesting to look at. And looking down the side of the car, the tumble home, the way it kind of spreads out at the bottom, gives it a sturdy, solid look on the road also. Now, I apologise about the guy with the strimmer who just started up. But around the back, there are lots more other references to the original 500. The shape of the tail lights, this big chrome plinth above the bumper with the 500 logo stamped or moulded into it. The big retro-style Fiat badge on the back of it. The design team did not want to put a spoiler on it because they didn't like the look of it in terms of the retro feel, but adding the spoiler here reduces the drag coefficient from 0.40 CD down to 0.32 CD, so just this little moulding here massively improves the car's fuel economy and I guess stability a bit as well. In the back of the car, it is relatively practical. For such a small car, it's not a bad sized boot, to be perfectly honest. Ridiculously tiny little parcel shelf, and the seats fold 50-50. So it is kind of useful, and it's even got a space saver spare wheel in the back. Well, the interior really is a fantastic retro fest. If you love mid-century styling or just things looking a bit cool, quirky and different, this is the car for you. The Ford Ka is probably the more sensible option, but this just looks so good. We've got a fantastic T-shelf area. That dashboard goes on forever. You can even stand a tall cup on there, no problem at all. Speaking of cup holders, it has got 4 cup holders in it. It's 2 here in the front and 2 here in the back. When I first saw them, I thought they were going to be absolutely useless because they're too shallow, but they grip this cup really well and I've been throwing it through corners and not a drop has spilt anywhere, so fantastic news there. Anyway, the dashboard, let's go back to that. It's a two-tone affair, so we've got a dark grey on the top of the dashboard, which extends into the door cards as well. It's like a hard texture plastic. It's not the nicest thing to touch, but it looks kind of okay. But then we've got lots of other colours going on to break it up. In this particular car, we've got a contrast of blue padded fabric in the doors, which matches the blue padded fabric, obviously, in the seats. Looks really cool. And the top half of the seats are white vinyl with these cool little round indented headrests as well. And that white vinyl matches the A-posts as it goes up into the ceiling. So we've got 3 tones going on. Incidentally, we've also got the tweeters up there in the A-post as well, and the main speakers down in the door, which also have some fairly good sized door bins as well as a solid door pull, and this really cool chrome door pull. Looks really nice, obviously very retro again, but very cool indeed. As we set out on the road, we have got this body colour panel here on the dashboard as well. Fiat are very much the master of this. They did it in the coupe as well. It looks fantastic there, it looks amazing here. We've got this stylised 500 logo here on the dash as well. Looks brilliant. And of course we've got chrome bezeled air vents here on the left and the right. In the centre, as we said, we've got the retro style radio, MP3 player, CD player. Curiously though, no steering wheel controls on the wheel, but we do have a white steering wheel. Not many cars can claim to have that. I don't know how clean that would stay, but this one's got, well, 90 odd thousand miles on it. Still looks pretty fresh. A quick horn test while we're here. Oh, a cute 50s style pop. Actually, it's not really 50s style. A real 50s style. It's got more of a high-pitched tone to it, but it's a good effort nonetheless. And I love the detailing in the steering wheel. We've got the black concave area, we've got the chrome ring, then we've got the badge itself. It's all so much detail going on. And of course, we've got the matching cream stalks for the lights, indicators and wipers behind it as well. And behind that we've got this fantastic kind of stacked, layered instrument panel with the mileage, the time, the fuel gauge, that kind of stuff all lurking in there in the LCD. Then we've got the rev counter on the black dial, and then the outer concentric circle is the speed. It's a great little piece of design. So much information packed into such a small area and doing it so attractively. Great font as well. Love a bit of nice fontography, and that of course is also bezeled in this nice white colour to match the steering wheel and the stalks. Over to the left again, we've got very few other controls. We've got this panel here also matching the radio in a matte cream plastic, so it looks nice as well. But we've only 3 other controls on the top of the dashboard: the city button, hazard lights and fog lights. Stepping onto this little plinth underneath, we've got big buttons for the electric windows. We've got the short throw snappy gear shift. Because it's so high up, it's a really short throw, so it's really fun to just snap through. And I love the black kind of 8-ball gear knob on top as well. It looks really good. Lift to go into reverse. Bit of chrome on there, looks fantastic. Thing I don't like though is this ashtray litter bin thing. I think it's a litter bin rather than ashtray. It's only soft plastic, but that nub just there does just constantly rub against your leg, so if you're over 5.5 feet tall it is an issue. Heading back, we've got the 2 cup holders, we've got a 12-volt socket down there, proper manual handbrake, but next to it is the lever for raising and lowering the seat height. And more than once in my short time in this car I have reached over and missed the handbrake and raised all over my seat rather than doing the handbrake, which is a little bit awkward. And looking underneath the dashboard, we have got a huge recess of a sub T-shelf, no actual glove box, but that sub T-shelf goes back for miles down there. Quite hard plasticky again, and a little tiny cubby just here on the driver's side as well. Looking some more at the seats themselves, they've got the nose pattern of the car, that little kind of moustache with the badge in the centre pattern, simplified and stamped into the seat backs, which looks really, really cool. And I love, as I say, the two-tone, like tombstone design, looks really nice. To get in the back, big lever there, pull that forward, and the seat rolls forward. However, once we're in here, for someone my height, it is a little bit uncomfortable. You really do need to raise up these headrests, otherwise that just digs in your back. It's not much in the way of knee room. Quite good in terms of foot space. I can lift my feet up so they're not trapped under, but it really is claustrophobic feeling if you have to deal with your toes trapped under the chair as well. Not much room for my knees, not much room for my elbows, although there is that recess with the speaker in it, which makes a bit of a difference. And the little non-opening windows, and my head is actually touching into the corner of the ceiling, so not the best for someone who's like, well, adult size here in the back of the car. We also have the absolute dinkiest little parcel shelf you ever did see. Now the retro styling is kind of a love it or hate it thing, but I'm guessing people do generally love it because they sold 1 million of them by 2013, that's just 6 years, and then the next 3 years they sold something like 175,000 cars a year in Europe alone. So yeah, they are relatively popular. If you say, I'm going to go look for a Fiat 500 right now, unless you've got the curtains drawn, you can probably see one, which does mean finding one for sale isn't too hard. Now, I say love it or hate it on the styling. I think the retro styling looks really, really good, and it is very, very cute. However, if you've got a 17-year-old lad who is a bit worried about being seen as a bit girly, it may be an issue. He does not want to be driving this because, well, let's face it, if you get the wrong colour on this thing, it can look a wee bit girly. And I know in this modern era we shouldn't be calling things for boys or for girls, but the reality is that people do still think that way. Even in the metal, there are certain things that do feel like it is engineered perhaps more a little bit for girls. The steering wheel doesn't move back and forth, only up and down, and it is way too close for me. Also, the thing I first found when I drove these cars years ago is that this little plinth that the gear shift sits on is too close to my left leg, so I'm constantly knocking my left knee and front shin onto it, and so after a long drive on a twisty road I could have quite a bruised up leg. If you're a smaller person with less of you, that wouldn't be such a problem, but I do find the ashtray thing that pops out just grazes against me quite a lot. And the height of the seat is very high, basically. It's designed, I guess, for people who aren't very tall to sit high up in the car. It does have a lowering lever here, but it only drops the back of the chair. The front of your legs are still at the same height, which just makes it slightly awkward to reach the pedals. And the pedals are quite a way off the floor, almost as if they've been designed to be driven in heels. So, although it's not a gender-specific car, a lot of features do appear to be engineered to be driven by women. But in terms of driving, it is a very, very easy car to drive. The steering has a little bit of weight in the power assistance. We do, of course, have Fiat City button there, which makes things really, really light. I mean, personally, I find it alarmingly light. We don't have any steering controls on the wheel, which is a little bit strange in a car this new. But sitting so high up, we do have excellent visibility all the way around the car in this big glass area. It's a really, really short bonnet, so parking is easy. The thing's only 3.5 metres long and 1.6 metres wide, so finding a parking space for it, never going to be a problem. And we've got this lovely 5-speed manual gearbox as well, which is beautifully snicky. Other engines do come with a 6-speed manual, and there is, of course, an automatic option as well, but so, is this the ideal first car for your teenage son or daughter? Or even just a cheap second-hand car for yourself? Honestly, yeah, I think it probably is. It ticks so many boxes so well. It drives really well. It doesn't drive as well as the KA perhaps, but it's still rewarding enough. Most people aren't going to push the envelope of its handling and really experience the edge of its limits. It's more than competent enough and very enjoyable. The little 1.2 is not the fastest thing 0 to 60. It's at 12.5 seconds, 13 some people say even. Top speed's 99, which is more than enough. It's incredibly frugal. All the engine options are really good on MPG. This one I believe has 45 to the gallon with 1.2 in it. production of the internal combustion 500 has now technically ended. The 500e is replacing it in the inexorable march of EVs. But due to, well, lack of demand, basically, slow sales, especially in Italy, and with older drivers, they are bringing back a hybrid version of the new 500e. Oh look, a Fiat 500. They are literally everywhere. You cannot move for these things. Now, I've got to be honest, I do really like these. They're different, they're interesting. There are too many bland and unexciting cars on the road, so something with a little bit of design flair, a bit of excitement and interest in the styling really does go a long way to livening up the road scene around us. So what if it's harking back to the 1950s? 1950s style is cool. Get some of that brilliant Mies van der Rohe mid-century brilliance into your driveway. One thing we haven't done is a brake test, so emergency stop in 3, 2, 1. You know what? That's actually pretty decent. If you've enjoyed this, please, as always, like and subscribe and join us again next time driving something